Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 95. We got a good lineup ahead of UFC Vegas 61 and a BKFC event this weekend. We're first going to be joined by one half of the main event in Mackenzie Dern to preview her fight against Yan Xiaonan. This is a really big fight. Obviously, Dern returned to the win column last time out in April with that split decision win over Tisha Torres. Before that, the decision lost to Marina Rodriguez in her first main event. She's really grateful to have another main event opportunity. She thinks 5 rounds here is a big advantage to her, given she's the one that's done 5 rounds. But it's no secret what Dern's game plan is. She thinks if she can get this fight down to the ground, she can get that submission or TKO win, and really believes if she beats Yan and does so by finishing her, she'll be right there for a title shot, if not be fighting for the belt next. We're then going to talk to former UFC heavyweight Ben Rothwell to preview his fight in his BKFC debut on Saturday against Bobo Ben. And Ben said he's really looking forward to this fight. Bobo's the guy that called him out once Ben signed. So really intriguing matchup here. Ben obviously coming off that loss to Marcos Rogério de Lima. After that was supposed to fight Gustafsson, then ended up asking for his UFC release, and he's really looking forward to the BKFC career. He thinks he can make a big run here. Win over Bobo, he thinks he could be fighting for the belt next. We're then going to be joined by Randy Costa to preview his fight against Guido Canadi. Randy's fired up for this one. He knows this is do or die for him on a 2-fight losing streak with TKO lost to Adrian Yanez and Tony Kelly. He believes that he can go out there and just finish Guido in that first round. He thinks that we haven't really seen the best of him since they run where he beat Boston Salmon and Journey Newson. He said he's back to being that hungry guy he was after before those 2 fights, and he's really confident here that he'll stop Guido and do so in a very impressive fashion. We're then going to close things out speaking to John Castaneda about his fight against Daniel Santos. John coming off back-to-back wins over Miles Johns, a 3rd-round submission, and a 1st-round knockout over Eddie Wineland. John's a guy that he bit surprised he's fighting Santos. Santos 0-1 in the UFC, but he said he just wanted to fight, and he believes he goes out there, finishes Santos. He's fighting a ranked guy next. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by UFC strawweight Mackenzie Dern, who's headlining another card. Mackenzie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Obviously, after your last win against Tisha, did you think Yan was gonna be your next opponent?
I felt that was the most the one that made the most sense. We both lost to Marina. I felt like that's the fight that made the most sense, I think she fought Tisha before. I'm not 100% sure. I think she beat Tisha, if I remember correctly. But, she's number 5. I'm number 4. She's coming off 2 losses, So, it's okay, I'm glad that I was able to get, a high-ranked fighter, But, yeah, for me, I felt like it's the fight that made the most sense right now.
And you mentioned how she's coming off 2 losses, but to obviously Carla, who's now the champ, and then that split against Marina. What did you make of her fight against Marina? Because I think that was a lot closer than people thought it would be.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it could have gone to Yan Xiaonan too. I feel like no matter if it went to either one of them, it could have gone to the other one too. It was really, really close fight. I think that Marina in the last round kind of was a little bit pressuring more, but I kind of I saw that Yan took Marina down, I think in the end of the first round or something, did a takedown, had a lot of volume too. So, it was a close fight, but Marina is definitely at a really good moment of her career right now. So, and then against Carla, definitely after watching her fight with Carla, I said okay, I could see that she had a little bit openings on the ground, So for me being a grappler, I was okay, this is a good fight for me, I know for sure since she's coming up 2 losses, she's definitely working hard. She's a hard worker, probably for sure working her takedown defense, her ground game, but she has a lot of high volume and her striking is just on point, so it's definitely not going to be an easy fight. And I'm excited for this test. It's a main event, so we have 5 rounds. That's always good. It's always good to know that okay, we have time to adjust if anything, okay, after the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, if things aren't going the way we want it or something, we can always adjust. But the goal is to get the fight over in the 1st round as soon as possible.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, a main event, your 2nd one. How excited were you when you got the call that it'd be the main event?
I was so excited, because my first main event against Marina, I fell short, I wasn't able to get the win. So it's definitely, like, not like a revenge, but a redemption. It was definitely like a redemption. It's a redemption. I want to get a redemption on this fight, and be able to like get my first main event win. I mean, yeah, China. She has a big public in China, and my biggest public, my biggest fan base is Brazil and United States, So just to be able to have like a whole guard basically around you and kind of built on you and the media and things like that, this is definitely like a good moment just to like, keep growing your worth, your value
Mhm.
as a fighter. And yeah, and I mean, of course, there's so much in the UFC business, in the fighting business. So definitely to have another main event. We just had Cheeto Vera who had his
Mhm.
second main event. So with us, like at the Ruka gym, we're always like, pushing each other, and we're excited that we're just growing as fighters and getting these opportunities. And I'm excited. Once you get 5 rounds, you go through, with Marina, I had 25 minutes of fighting, going back to 3 rounds, like, oh my gosh, it's so fast, the three rounds is like, if you don't get it over with, it passes by like that. So once you go to 5 rounds, you don't want to go back to 3 rounds.
And then with it, like you just mentioned, obviously Marlins headline at San Diego. Were you a bit disappointed you weren't on that card, or did you just enjoy watching it as a fan?
Oh, I enjoyed just watching it as a fan. It's like definitely good. I mean, I was able to enjoy the whole camp, so I was able to enjoy like and take advantage of the energy and the vibe and the gym of him being in training camp. Basically from this camp, my camp, I was able to get like his camp with Luke's camp all together. So it was my longest camp I've had so far, is in intense training and just getting better and kind of like watching what he's training and be able to learn off of that, and then watching what Luke was training and be able to learn off of that, So I really was able to take advantage of just back to back of my teammates, training. And it was good. It was good to just be able to like watch him have his moment and get in those vibes, like they had a lot of good girl fights of the strawweight division, so it definitely got me pumped. Carla was like right next to me, you know what I mean? So we were able to like talk and just, share some knowledge and kind of hear like what she thought about the fights and stuff like that. So it's good. It's good to be able to have a moment of just, getting into that energy and that vibe of like, yeah, pretty soon it's gonna be me, and excited. So I was happy to be just a, a fan at that
Mhm.
moment.
And then with 5 rounds too, like this is the first time Yan's gonna be headlining a card. Like, do you think that's a big advantage to you because you know how to pace yourself over 5 rounds and like you've experienced going that 25 minutes before?
I mean, no, I mean, she's so fit,
Mhm.
I mean, she's been in this like she's been in it longer than me, So I mean, even though she hasn't had 5 rounds, I'm sure she trains, for 5 rounds, and I'm sure she's been training for 5 rounds, for a while. I think that she's just so athletic. You'll be cardio wise, and stuff like that. I think she'll be good. Um, I think the biggest like advantage, maybe could be advantage, is just the fact that she's coming off 2 losses, and I think that could or be a good thing. She could be like, nervous and feeling a lot of pressure, like, man, I don't want to lose 3 in a row, and she could be a little bit like, you know, I don't know, frozen a little bit and kind of holding back, or she could just like, not give it, not care and be like, hey, I need to get this win and come at me with everything. You know what I mean? So it could either be like really good or really bad. But I think more the fact of her coming after 2 losses could affect how she fights. More than actually being a main event.
And then you mentioned earlier how you noticed a lot of like holes on the ground with Carla's fight. Like, how much have you kind of looked back at that fight throughout this camp then?
I mean, not too much, because I look more at her fights that she's won, because I feel like that's where I'm gonna have the most difficulty, is on her stand up, and just like how she keeps a good distance, and like, man, I don't have good takedowns like Carla. Carla's timing on her takedowns is so good. I mean, she's the best wrestler in the division. You know what I mean? So I try not to like think too much because I know it's not going to be easy for me to take her down, especially because my takedowns. But I've been working a lot of my wrestling for this camp, So, I mean, my dad's a judo black belt, so
Mhm.
definitely my takedowns are a little bit more like judo based, But I've been training so much like my wrestling takedowns. I feel like, okay, if I can get to the ground, Even if it's like, okay, I need to pull guard, like I did with Tisha, just jump guard. I think I can get this fight, but the hard part is going to be just getting there, closing the distance, like she has such good volume and stuff like that. So it's like, man, to not get overwhelmed with her punches. I know they're going to be like hard shots, ta, 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 and just preparing myself for that, So, I mean, I saw it a couple times just to see like kind of how Carla took her down. I know she took her down off of some kicks and things like that, but who knows, like, is she going to come out and kick me? It's always a surprise, So, I mean, the objective, the goal, it's no secret, it's like to close the distance, and get it to the ground. If it's, I need to do a flying armbar, or if it's, I need to do a wrestling takedown, or if it's off of her offense or off of her defense, we're going to get it. I'm not really thinking like to be the most technical, So yeah, I want this win, it's really important, this win for me. I think it can take me like a big step in the division. So I'm going in to win.
And then everyone knows how good your ground game is, but your striking has gotten a lot better, especially working with Jason. Like, how much do you think that part of your game is kind of still overlooked just because how good your ground game is?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not frustrating, but it's so hard because, I kind of like stopped feeling pressure. Like I wanted to show people how much I've been getting better, because it's one thing in the gym and, you're striking and you're feeling so good. Like I'm feeling so good with my striking and I'm putting stuff together and I'm like, man, I literally train like my stand up every single day. You know what I mean? Like it's, I train it even more than like my grappling and everything. Of course, my grappling I've been training my whole life. You know what I mean? So definitely, I never stopped training my ground game, but I've just been like so invested on my striking, trying to get better, help, be dangerous there, so it makes my ground game easier. But it's like when I go into the fight, I take one step forward and the girls take like 10 steps back. You know what I mean? So it's like it's so hard for me to let my hands go when I'm just chasing the whole entire fight. You know what I mean? And these girls, like the higher level you get, the more that they're, better strategy and they can just keep the distance and they have good footwork, and I'm the whole fight like just chasing, you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, we'll see. I think young Shannon, I feel she stays more in the pocket and she engages more, and I mean that's good, that's good for you to like let your hands go and you have that engagement, so I mean I don't feel pressure like, okay, I need to prove to everyone, I want to show them, I feel like when the moment comes, I don't know, if the girl feels like she can outstrike me and she wants to she wants to put it on me kind of thing with her striking, I think it will come out at the right moment, when people will like see it. So I kind of like not have that pressure, like, okay, when it's meant to be, I think the fans and the public, they're going to see how much I've improved, but I don't want to force anything. I don't want to like go and strike with the striker, definitely the plan is, to grapple the striker and stuff like that. But when I'm not able to take it to the ground, then I think that's when it will really come. So I mean, you see, like Charles Oliveira, he's like, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know, he's a long time in the UFC, and just now he's like finally matured to that level, of where he's like the champ and he can strike and grapple, and it's like I think it's gonna be a long time until someone takes him off of the champ of the belt, So I don't have like pressure to get there now to be like a well-rounded fighter yet, But even though I know I'm getting there in the gym, but at the right moment, it'll come out in the fight.
And then with the fight being at the Apex, like how big of an advantage do you think that is with a smaller octagon? So obviously it's a less room for her to kind of work around because you obviously want to get it in tight and get to the ground.
Yeah. No, definitely like the octagon, that's good. That's definitely one thing I like. But man, after you're back in front of a crowd again, at the UFC 273, it was like, so good, just to be like, I mean, that's what we do, it's for the fans, we're like we're like entertainers, you know what I mean? So it's like my job is to entertain, everyone with my fighting style and just me like giving my all, and I train to entertain, everyone else and put on a good fight for everyone, So it's like for sure that's like when you feel like, man, yeah, this is what I'm here for, and you get excited and you're in the moment, and then at the Apex it's like crickets, and you're just like, man, that stinks, to not have the public and stuff like that. During the pandemic, I had like, I think I did 5 fights at the Apex, so I was definitely like hoping to be back in front of a crowd. But like I said, I mean, Yashanan, her public is a lot of like in China. Mine is like a lot in Brazil, in the United States. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, why didn't you give me like a crowd? Like I'm taking it as it is. I'm main event, Apex or not, I'm happy with this opportunity. And yeah, I mean, hopefully a lot of our fans like, watch on TV anyway. So if we put on a good show, maybe the next one will be like back in front of a crowd.
Just a couple more things. Like, how do you kind of see this playing out? Like, more times than not, when you win, it seems to be happened pretty early and by submission.
I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna submit this fight. The goal is to do it as soon as possible, but I mean, I can see it. I can see like submission going the third, fourth, fifth round, But yeah, I definitely see like a submission in this fight.
And then you go out and beat Jan and you finish her. Like, where do you think that puts you? Because you're ranked 5 right now, and like obviously the title fight's upcoming, and there's some key fights coming. Like, do you think you probably need one more? Or do you think you could get a title shot off this?
I mean, I feel like Marina is, line for the title after Zhang Weili. I know that she accepted the fight with Amanda Lemos. So I mean, Marina's a beast, She'll fight anyone, But I think if she wins, for sure she's next in line. If she loses, maybe, that can put me in front of her, if I win my fight too, of course. But yeah, I'm not in a rush to fight for the belt, We'll see, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens. I don't know what's happening with Rose. I don't know what will happen with Carla in Zhang Weili. Maybe if Carla loses and I win and Marina wins, then maybe I fight the loser of Carla and Zhang Weili, and then we'll see. But I mean, definitely, I would like to do another fight before I fight for the belt,
Yeah, you kind of mentioned there. Like, I think there's really 2 fights that make sense. It's the loser, the title fighter, Rose would be next if you win. I think those are probably the only 2, because both those would be ahead of you. And then if you beat one of them, like, but all 3 would be former champions. Like, it kind of secures your shot at the title.
Yeah, definitely. I have like that same mind thought.
Yeah. And then just last thing, like October, you think this is probably it for you this year? Or are you hoping to maybe squeeze one more in?
Oh no, yeah, I want to do like after this one. I'm gonna go out to Brazil. I'm gonna go to Brazil for a couple of weeks, for a little bit, and then yeah, come back and hopefully, I think the UFC is going back to Rio. I think in January, definitely would like to be there to watch and be there and be like a guest fighter kind of thing. But yeah, next year, just see who they give me next and have like a really good camp. And it's just like each camp I'm giving my best, and I know that like as I'm getting closer, I just need to keep building and adding more and being like an even better camp. And it's like, man, the investment and the time and the training and everything, it's so much, so I really want to make sure as I'm getting closer to the belt, I just can keep my body good and, depending too, as long as I don't get to beat with young Shannon, she doesn't like break my nose again and something. I don't have any surgeries. Yeah, I like to fight like next year.
Well, Mackenzie, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cole.
All right, we're joined by BKFC heavyweight Ben Rothwell, who's set for his debut here pretty soon. Ben, how's it going, man?
It is going. Ready to go.
Obviously, signed with BKFC like earlier this year. Like, were you expecting to make your debut a lot sooner than this?
Honestly, yeah. I had signed. I thought something was going to happen this summer, early summer. And then I got pushed to August, and then the Mike Perry fight got made, which was obviously a big deal for them. So I understood, but I didn't realize it was going to take till October. Regardless, I'm here. I'm going to fight in a few weeks, and opponent that called me out is the one that I wanted as well. It was made. It's going to be a good card. It's got a good main event, so it's a good place to come and prove myself.
Yeah, that's something I actually want to touch on. Is obviously Bobo is a guy that called you out. So like, does that just add to it that this is a guy that wanted to fight you and he kind of gets his wish?
Absolutely, because there's nothing better than making someone regret their wish.
Are you surprised he called you out, or do you kind of understand it just because you're obviously a big name coming from the UFC? Like, obviously he's trying to make a name off you. Like, do you understand, or are you surprised you got called out by him?
I think there's some underestimating going on. I think he's just focusing on one of my fights, not all of my fights. He's hoping that, a version that every guy dreams that of me shows up. And Josh Burnett said there's two versions, and there's the guy that we all hope shows up because I lose fights when I'm fight like that, and there's another guy that shows up that has almost 30 knockouts and a slew of finishes. So I know it's in me, and I know I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm feeling really good, and I'm feeling excited for October 1st, and I think Boba's a good opponent because he wants to stand there and fight, and he's got something to prove himself, and it's gonna be a good one for the fans.
I've talked to a lot of like former UFC or Bellator people like go into BKFC, and they all talk about like how much more enjoyable training is, not have to worry about wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Like, is that the same with you? As you're now having a lot more fun back training, and it's like bringing you back and like ready to actually fight again?
It's just, with MMA, you have to dedicate time to jiu-jitsu and to your wrestling and to putting it all together. And that's like three facets that all have been taken out, and it's just all boxing right now. I focus on strength and conditioning and boxing. And boxing is pad works, it's sparring, but it's always that. And what happens is wrestling and jiu-jitsu at 40 years old really takes a wear on your body. Even if I get through the whole practice, it's just the next day, it's really hard to get going again. My body's so sore. And for whatever reason, I can box an hour straight, spar hard, get Shark Tank, do all the things, and I'm ready to go the next day. So, yes, this has been a really good time in my career, and I'm looking forward to it because the training's gone really well.
And then with training, like, are you already training without gloves, or are you still just using boxing gloves or like MMA gloves?
I do both. I do 16-ounce gloves when I'm sparring because my partners can't be getting hit with my bare knuckles for no pay. So I'm sparring with gloves, but I hit pads a lot of times with no gloves on. Since 2015, I stopped wrapping my hands for the most part. They put tape on and stuff like that, but for the most part, I wasn't even going wraps. So this is kind of right at home for me. The whole setup works for me.
How come you stopped wrapping your hands? Because something like a lot of fighters do and like to do.
Because it affected my grip and grabbing someone's wrists and hitting submissions, using my choke. My hands needed to be as free as possible.
And then with BKFC, like obviously a lot shorter rounds, like 2-minute rounds. Like, how exciting is that, where it's not having to pace yourself for 5 minutes?
It's exciting, but at the same time, we push. Like, there's no feeling out. There's no time to hold back. Like, we go hard. We try to do 2 to 3 fights a practice. So it's like, that 14 minutes, because there's 1 minute rests. And that 14 minutes, we try as hard as we can to like make it a sprint. So the idea is I push so hard in that time that none of these fights are going to go past a couple rounds. We're too big and too aggressive. Whether they're hitting me, but I'm putting my hands on them. I mean, the thing is, I can take a shot too. That's bad. I don't want the world to know that, but obviously it's known. But the difference is my shots are just hurting people bad. Like I'm really big as a heavyweight as it is, but then coming to this with the kind of power and precision I'm possessing, these guys cannot be getting hit by me. So I don't see these fights going all the rounds as it is, which is what the fans would tune in for. It's combat sports, right? You guys want to see a knockout.
Do you have to change like your technique or anything for bare knuckle? Because obviously you don't want to land bare knuckle on like someone's forehead or not, because that's how you break your hand a lot easier. Like, do you have to change your technique, or is it still just the exact same how you're going in there?
16-ounce glove to MMA glove works at. Even an MMA glove isn't much. And you don't want to, even with a big glove on, you don't want to hit someone's elbow. You don't want to hit the top of someone's head. And then you go down to a 4-ounce glove. It's even more so. And now bare knuckle. Yeah, you don't want to hit something hard. So as I said, precision striking is a big deal for sure. Like just throwing wild haymakers. Hey, if it lands, cool. But man, guys flailing, putting their hands up and you hit someone's elbow, that's not going to feel good on your hands. So I think you can see it too with I've talked to some of the higher ups in bare knuckle, and they said they've watched as guys are learning how like to be more precise, pick their shots, and things of that nature. I've always kind of tried to be cautious of that, and maybe it's what held me back in the past, but I think it's going to fit me very well in this because any shot I get hits touch person, it's bad for them. My jabs can probably knock people out. So literally anything I throw is dangerous.
And with Bobo, like, what have you made of his bare knuckle run? Like 3-2, coming off that loss to Alan Belcher, but like all his wins are by stoppage, and all his losses are by stoppage too. So he's a guy that doesn't like going the distance.
Yeah, he let's call it a brawler, call it whatever you want. The man wants to fight. Great. And that's why it's going to make a great fight. He's ready to go out on his shield. He's either coming for it or he's going to get it. And I respect that. But at the same time, I have to let it very, very clear to him. He's going to know within the first round is not what he expected.
And with bare knuckle too, like obviously you drop them, you can't follow up. Like, is that something you have to kind of teach yourself? Is where you can't jump or you can't like shoot for takedowns if you get hurt? Like just your kind of common knowledge has been in MMA.
It is different. That is a thing. There's times so many bare knuckle fights, the fight would have been over the very first knockdown. The refs are quick to jump in, and here again, guys are getting 10 counts, getting up back. In fact, I think it was the last BKFC. These guys got dropped back and forth. Both guys got dropped multiple times, which would have been over. Every time that guy got dropped, that would have been over in MMA. And then a guy that looked like he was going to lose ended up winning the fight, which is exciting. People love nothing more than to see a comeback. So it is different, So when I drop these guys, I got to make sure I let them have it. They don't want to get back up.
And then how do you kind of see someone playing? Like you obviously mentioned a couple times you don't think it's going to go very long. Like, when do you kind of see yourself finishing him?
I really can't say a time because it's just the longer we're in there, the worse it is for him. I believe that 100%. So I just feel like every minute's going to be action for the fans, and it's going to be great for you. It could be over in a minute. It could be over a second round. It's just you never know how Bobo's going to show up. They don't know how I'm going to show up, so it's all whatever. But I definitely don't see it going many rounds. No.
And then you go out there and finish him. Like, what do you think that does in the division? Like, obviously, you're a big name. Like, do you think this win could get you a title shot right away? I'm
pretty sure Arnold, Adams, and Belcher are going to fight. I think it makes sense. Belcher's on the run. Those two, I don't know if they've announced it yet, but I think I heard that.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. So
like, those two are going to fight.
Yeah.
After. So we got to let that happen. I could maybe, with a good performance, come in and fight someone to like have the next spot, for number one contender spot. But who knows, man? It's combat sports. There's nothing but craziness. All I know is I don't give a shit. They're going to put someone across from me, and I'm going to end them. And I'll do it as many times as I have to.
Are you just hoping then to just be as active as possible then and just kind of get a lot of these fights through, like, as long as you're healthy?
I'm going to try. I mean, time's not exactly on my side. I mean, credit to Big Frank Tate. The guy's 43, and he's in the top 5 still. So you can also see Houston Alexander. The guy's like 50. He's on a win streak. So this was cool about showing this sport too. We can go, be a little bit older, and heavyweights already are known to have a little bit longer careers. But I'm seeing an average of guys are right now getting 2 fights a year. And I'm hoping, it sounds like Dave Feldman's very aggressive and he wants to have a big 2023. I want to be a part of that. So I'm just out to be as excited. It's more about the fans wanting to see me fight. If they want to see me fight, he's going to give me a fight. So that's what October 1st is all about, showing all of that and being as exciting as I possibly can. Winning's not enough. It's absolutely not. It's not. Like, I have to go out and do something special. I know what I'm capable of, and I know when I deliver, people are going to want to see it, and that should make for a very good 2023.
Just a couple more things. You kind of talked about it there. How heavyweights are a bit older anyways, same with bare knuckle. Like, have you thought about when you're like ready to retire? Or is that not a thought that you even think about?
Well, thinking about it is in a sense negative. It's a reality though. Like I'm not totally lost. Like I know my time's coming, but it's not here yet. That's what I do know. I know as long as my training partners are like, damn, dude, like you can fight anybody, and I'm performing the way I am, and I know that I'm dangerous, and I'm staying healthy, and I'm not slurring. It's like, yeah, you know, but the day's gonna come where it's just, I believe you will know. We'll just say I'm good. I'm preparing myself, you know, with my other business and ventures and things that I have going on, and that day will come. But right now, especially with a new opportunity like this and something that I can excel in, I want to have a good run yet before I walk away.
Do you think you end your career then bare knuckle, or do you think you fight one more time MMA?
Hey, they just say never, right? So we'll just keep open mind. Bare knuckle, I want to give them my best, and if they take care of me, then hey, let's finish here. Let's finish on top. Let's do our best. I want to get as many viewers for them as I can, and maybe make a legacy here before I'm done. But anything can happen.
Just final question, like your UFC career, like what you were in the UFC for a long time, like a lot of like champions you beat. Like, is there a career highlight that kind of stands out for you above the rest? Or is there like multiple that kind of stand out for you?
Well, the two big ones was knocking out Alistair Overeem as an old. I was a 5-1 underdog, and he was a world-class striker, and I knocked him out. And submitting Josh Barnett, which was never been submitted, known as one of the best grapplers in the world, were two big things for me because that's MMA. You know, I did the grappling and the not striking. It kind of set myself so like, hey, I'm one of the best in the world at MMA.
Well, Ben, that's all I have for you. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Right on, man. No problem. Yeah. Thank you.
On the floor.
All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Randy Costa, who's finally back in action. Randy, how's it going, man?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously been a while. Like last December, your last fight. Was this like, did you want this amount of time off, like 10 months after you fight, or like were you hoping to return a bit sooner?
So if you asked me this question in December, my answer would have been absolutely not. Right after the fight, I was trying to get in like March, and that's what I was shooting for. I've been in camp, literally in camp since January 1st, because I thought that I'm coming off 2 losses, right? So I thought that my opportunity would have been a short notice opportunity. And March was kind of the time frame that I was thinking would make sense. So I've been getting ready for a fight since January. Now that we're coming in October, my answer is different. I'm very happy with the long layoff. It allowed me, these last 10 months, not only to develop more skill and really perfect the things that I'm working on, but also, dude, I really needed that loss to sting. I needed that to marinate and just really suck, right? I got my ass kicked, man. I don't know who that guy fighting on December 11th, that Costa kid, dude, that kid on that night couldn't fight out of a paper bag. Like that dude just forgot how to fight. So I didn't need it, but it sucked, but it's nice that I had all this time to just be pissed off at the world and just have this shitty taste out of my mouth, man. And I'm just getting so close to getting this taste out of my mouth, man. Like it's nice, dude. I can't wait to fight.
And then I saw on your Instagram, I think you're at a different gym now. I think you're still in Florida. Like, did you make some changes then after that one?
Yeah, man. I made a lot of changes with a lot of things in my life, man. I cut out some toxic people, started to train with different people. Yeah, man. Just kind of did the things that I feel like I need to do. Put myself around people that want to see me win just as much as I want to win, and just like focusing on myself and just. Honestly, man, just being selfish, just fucking doing what I have to do in order to win, because that's the necessity. That's what needs to happen.
Was it all in Florida, or did you get a chance to go up to Boston and work with Joe and them?
I haven't trained with Lozon for about 2 years now, or since I moved down here. So I Florida the entire time. I was intending to either go to Florida or go to Vegas for like a week or 2 or something like that, but had some stuff come up and it just didn't work out. So I did my entire camp out in Florida, and that's 100% okay, like 100% okay. I feel like now more than ever, or these past 10 months since changing gyms or getting out of my current or my situation, I just feel like everything's in line. I'm training the way that I was when I was the most successful, when I was the best that I was. Yeah, man, I'm just fucking good, man. I just can't wait to fight.
And then a bit like a two-part question, like who kind of are the guys working with, like coaches, training partners, and who's kind of going to be in your corner then on fight night?
Yeah, my corner, Lozon, 100% is my corner. Troy Worthen, he cornered me in my last fight. He's my main training partner now. He's a 1FC guy, 35, 45er. They have like different rules because stuff, but 35, 45er. And then my kickboxing coach, Nico. So we're getting like awesome work. Been doing ton of jiu-jitsu, ton of boxing sparring under the watchful eye of really good boxing coach Orlando Queller, Commander Zero. He's in South Beach boxing. Has a lot of really good boxers out of there. Get a lot of sparring with a really good boxer he has. His name is Lucas dos Santos, Brazilian kid. He's like 2-0 or 3-0, boxing with knockouts. Like a 154 or 47er. He's just a savage boxer, like nasty boxer. Yeah, man, just grinding, and I just feel like I'm in an optimal position to compete at my potential in a few weeks.
And then I guess another big change is the mustache. Like, when did you decide to kind of go with that then?
Dude, it started as a fucking joke, and like it was like just started like a little bit of stubble, just like, oh, I just did it. It was funny. It was stupid. And then I was like, it just kept going. And I'm like, yo, this thing has like some potential. I was like, all right, I'm definitely keeping it till whenever the next fight is. And this was in fucking March I started. And then they told me October. I'm like, yo, this is going to be 6 months of growing this thing. Let's go. So, yeah, dude, it's funny. And I think it's going to look really funny when I'm fighting. I look like one of those OG, like, bare knuckle guys. You know what I'm talking?
And then your opponent, Guido Canadi, like, guy's been in the UFC since like 2013, 14, like a lot of ups and downs. Like, how familiar were you when you got this name?
So familiar. 1,000% familiar. Like, I thought we were gonna fight before. I've asked for him to fight before. I know he's good, man. He's tough. He's in the UFC, right? He can fight. I mean, he's tough. But I'm gonna knock him out, and that's what's gonna happen. And that's all there is to it. He's good at what he does. You know, southpaw, big punches, kicks, tough kid. I would describe him as like a technical street fighter. That's kind of the fights that he engages in, and that's kind of what he's shown pretty much his entire career. He's dangerous. He's a dangerous guy. He's in the UFC. He's coming off a knockout, a first-round knockout. Over someone who went 3 rounds with O'Malley and couldn't be knocked out, or 2 rounds in 4 minutes with O'Malley and couldn't be knocked out by him. I know he's tough, but I'm tougher. I'm gonna knock him out, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, what you make of that win over Montino? Because that was like he was on a 3-fight losing streak, like fighting for his job, and like just showing how dangerous it is. Like especially early, like he caught Chris like right away, and Chris really never was able to really recover or get himself going.
Yeah, I was watching that fight very closely. Chris is a friend of mine. Like we're tight. We've trained a zillion times together. We talk, we hang out. We spent fucking Christmas together this year in Disney. Like I saw him in Disney and we spent the day in Disney together. He's cool people. So I was very in tune with that fight. And that was a great performance by Guido. Like 1,000%. He had a big knockout over someone who is proven to be very tough. It was a good fight. But I think I posed a lot of different threats. And I think I'm a different style fighter than Chris is. Not to say I'm better and not to say I'm worse. I just think it's just different. Different stances, different length, different strengths, different weaknesses, just different athletes. And I think that's what's going to be shown. That I'm just I don't think there's going to be a comparison with the 2 fights. It's like I'm comparing apples and oranges. I'm just a different set of tools that I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to wax them. And that's it.
And then a 5-inch reach advantage too, especially, and then that's obviously going to be even bigger with your legs. You always throw a lot of kicks. Like how important do you think that's going to be in the fight?
Very important. I mean, I think that even guys my size and my reach and my height, I think that I show that I'm the longer fighter. When I fought Adrian. I didn't have a 5-inch reach on Adrian, but I showed that it looked like there was like I was punching him from across the cage. My like fucking go gadget arms. Same thing when I fought Boston Salmon and Brendan Davis. Like I think that I use my range really well, and I think with going into this fight with a 5-inch reach advantage on top of the height advantage, on top of the style fighter the types of fighters we are, I just think that that's definitely going to play a factor. I mean, there's no secret. But on the flip side, he has that equalizer, right? He has big power in those hands, and it's something that I definitely have to respect, and it's something that I definitely have to look out for. But this fight is me versus me. Like it doesn't matter what he's doing. If I don't go in there acting like a fucking idiot, then I'm gonna win the fight. And I just need to go in there and not act like a fucking idiot, so I can win the fight.
And then your speed, I think, will be a big role, especially like Guido's a 42-year-old guy. Like you only get slower as you get older. Like, do you think the speed of your punches and kicks are gonna play a big role as well?
Yeah, I just think that I'm gonna be too tough of a puzzle. I think I'm a really tough puzzle for a lot of fighters to solve, and I would understand why somebody would say otherwise, because I was kind of exposed in my last fight. But prior to that, I showed that there's, even when I'm losing, like there's still a lot of threats. Like I lost to Adrian, but there were a lot of threats. Like there were a lot of things that had to be respected, and I think that he has a lot of things that he's gonna be like forced to represent or to respect and be attentive to. And I just have to I'm gonna freeze him. I'm just gonna freeze him.
And then with your last fight, like, do you expect Guido to just kind of try to push you up against the fence and try to take you down, similar to what Tony did to you?
Try it, dude. Fucking try it. Like I don't care. Like that's he can try whatever he wants, man. I've been like training this year, like training. I'm fucking pissed off, dude. Like I'm not going in there looking to like be buddy with him and shake his hand and do this, that. I'm going in there, I'm gonna fucking fight this dude. Like, go ahead. Like, bring it and come to me and try to hold me against the cage. You're gonna be taking a bite out of my knee. Like it's not gonna be like an easy task, like how Tony made it look back in December. Like Guido and Tony aren't the same fighter. Guido and Adrian aren't the same fighter. Guido is very dangerous, but I have way too much for him.
So how do you kind of see it playing out? Like, it seems like confidence obviously very high. Like how do you kind of see yourself winning this one?
I think that I'm gonna catch him, man. I think I'm gonna catch him. I think I need to make a statement. I need to do something good, man. Last performance was fucking trash. 2 losses. I have 2 more fights in my contract. This is I'm not gonna say it's a must win, because nothing's a must, right? But I need to put a statement down and show that I belong. I know I belong. It's time to go there and show it.
You kind of mentioned a bit there. Like, are you adding any pressure on yourself? Like, kind of saying like, I gotta win, or like this could be for my job, or you just kind of not even think about that?
Dude, I'm just in a good mental spot. I cut a lot of people out. I cut some toxic people out of my life, man. I just like I have my confidence back, man. I'm not like I'm just fucking ready, dude. Like I just don't see what he has to offer me. I don't see who my opponent is, who has anything to offer me, man. And yeah, man, it just fucking is, and I'm winning the fight. Like that's period. Like that's what's happening.
When do you think the last time is that you were like this confident, like this, like focused? Because to me, we've done these a lot. Like, I haven't really seen you talk like this probably since like that Boston Salmon Journey Newsom back-to-back fights.
Yeah, man, the Journey fight for sure, like 1,000%, 1,000 fucking percent. Even with the Adrian fight, man, I was like, and this is, I'm never gonna make any excuses, but like my mind was, I was like trying to please people too much. I was like too focused on like the fucking social media and the bullshit, man. Like this time, like I'm flying to Vegas in 3 weeks, man, and I'm going there for one reason, and that's to fuck Guido up, man. That's why I'm going to Vegas. I'm not going there for the pictures. I'm not going there for social media. I'm not going there for that stuff, man. I'm going there to fight. And I just want to show like make it all worth it, man, and show all like the fucking pain and the sting that I've had. It just fucking sitting in the shitty taste that's been sitting on my mouth since since December, man, I'm just like, I just don't give a fuck, man. I'm going to go there. I'm going to knock him out. Like, that's period.
And then there's always been people talking about like, oh, just get Randy to that second, third round, and that's how you beat him. Like, you're always kind of working on cardio. Like, is that something you want to show in this fight? Is like get this fight later, or would you rather just kind of keep that in your back pocket and let people kind of keep saying, oh, you just got to get him to that second, third round?
So I guess I'll address it in two ways. So I think a mistake that I made a lot, well, not a lot, that I've made in the past, is that I wasn't doing like the whole weight cut thing correctly. I was like I wasn't killing myself with the cut, but I was going into fight week at fucking 139 pounds, bro. Like that's what, dude, I'm like waking up on weight. Like that's silly. I'm a 140 pound guy, you know? So I brought in a nutritionist this camp. I've been working with the nutritionist for about 12 weeks come the fight. So I'm much bigger than I was. I'm faster, more explosive. I just think things are right. And it was never like, people can say those things about like my cardio and stuff, and they have every right to say those things. But like, it's such a silly argument because people say that about McGregor too. Like, obviously, fucking doofuses. He's working on his cardio. Like, there are other variables that need to be tended to, and I think that I tended to those variables this time, and I think that that's going to be like a clear factor, man. Like my doing sparring, man. I'm getting like 12 rounds of boxing sparring, rotating partners. Like I'm just fucking like firing at work, and just have like all my calories being counted for, everything like regimented, everything's just right. That's part one, and part two is no, I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. I don't want the second or third round. I'm capable of going to the second, third round. This fight more than fucking ever, I'm more capable just because of like where I am mentally, where I am physically. But I don't think it's gonna get there, man. I think I'm gonna finish this fight. I'm gonna finish this fight, and I'm gonna show people and reiterate that I do belong here, and that I'm going out there to prove that.
Just a couple more things. You mentioned earlier how a lot of the camp was on jiu-jitsu as well. Like that's something you've been kind of focusing on. Is that like something you haven't been training as much like early on in your career, just because like you're obviously such a good kickboxer, striker? Like, is that something you kind of negated, or is that something you've always worked on? You just kind of increasing how much you're working on it?
Definitely increase it. The last two camps, being at a gym that was, very kickboxing heavy, very wrestling heavy. I think that my jiu-jitsu definitely got a little bit neglected over there, as far as training with it. But now I'm rolling, like live rolling, 4 or 5 days a week, and this has been going on since January 1st. Last time I was like this was, when I was fighting Journey, and when I was fighting, Boston, and when I was training with Lozon. Lozon's one of the best grapplers in the UFC, just grinding. I think that's definitely been a missing piece, and just that the time under tension and being forced to fight out of positions that are uncomfortable. And it's easy for me to like get into like a kickboxing exchange and not find any discomfort, But now I've been doing so much rolling that I don't think that there's anywhere in the fight that Guido's gonna put me in that I'm gonna be uncomfortable. Like, you're gonna clinch with me. Like, that's a really bad idea to do with someone that's like as long as I am. Like, that's a really fucking bad idea. You're gonna stand on the outside with me. That's a fucking terrible idea. Like, I don't see, like, you're gonna knock me out. You're gonna throw your hand and just like throw a baseball and hopefully it lands on my chin. Like, nice. How many clean shots do I get hit with? Like, not many, right? I don't get hit with many clean shots, and I don't think he's gonna be the one to hit me with that clean shot. I just need to go out there. I need to fight my fight, and I need to focus on me. I need to do it for me. I need to focus on me, and I need to win this fucking fight.
A bit disappointed just at the Apex, though, or are you kind of liking how it's back to there?
For this one, man, I'm not mad about it. Only because, like, I'm doing it for me, man. I'm fucking pissed off. I don't care if it's in Dana's basement, dude. Like, I don't care where it is. I don't care who's watching. I don't care if they put me on a post slam or they put me on at 6 a.m. None of that stuff matters, dude. The only thing that matters is I'm winning that fight. It's cool fighting in like, with fans and all this, that, the other thing. But for me right now, where I am, winning is the most important. It's not the fans. Like, winning is the most important. It would have been dope, obviously, to fight, in a sold out crowd. But, a sold out crowd isn't paying my bills, dude. A win is paying my bills, and that's the number one priority.
Just two more things. Like, you go out there and knock out Guido, like you say. Like, where do you think that puts you? Or is it more just like getting back to the win column, kind of reminding everyone you're still here?
Yeah. it doesn't. I don't think that. I mean, Guido is very good. He's dangerous, right?
Mm.
But it's not like he's not like getting the respect. Like, oh, he's like the next guy. He's like savage. This that. He's kind of like. I don't know. He's kind of like just a guy who likes to fight, and that's fair. Like there are guys in the UFC who are probably don't have championship aspirations that just like to fight, and I think that that's what Guido is, and that's fucking super dangerous because doesn't have much to lose. I mean, the guy's older. He's at the end of his career. If he wins, how many more fights is he gonna get? If he loses, how many more fights is he gonna get? I don't think that there's not like he doesn't have anything to lose, and that's super fucking dangerous, and like it's something that definitely needs to be respected.
And then just last thing, like you get that first round knockout, you want like hoping one more this year to get 2 fights in this year. You think this is probably it for you?
I would like to get another one this year, for sure. But I'm not even thinking that far. I mean, this is the first time I've even like attended to that question or even like played that question in my head or anything. Like I haven't even put like any thought into that because like I don't give a fuck about that stuff. All I care about is winning on October 1st and just fucking putting my shin through Guido's head.
Well, Randy, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this. All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight John Castaneda, who's finally back in action. John, how's it going, man?
It's going well, sir. Thanks for having me, Cole.
Yeah. After we talked after your last win against Miles back in February, like pretty surprised it took this long for you to get back in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that we were trying to make a quick turnaround sometime in the summer and then sneak one in by the end of the year. But, you know, I just sit around and wait for the phone call. So, you know, October 1st is the date. Good, solid opponent in my opponent there. And then also, you know, I'm hoping to, regardless of the outcome, you know, obviously we're hoping for a win, but regardless, I'm still trying to sneak in one more this year. So hopefully we can get in 3.
Are you surprised you got matched up against Daniel Santos just because he's 0-1 the UFC and like your guy coming off 2 straight wins, like finishes over Eddie Wineland and Miles Johns, who was kind of right near that top 15. Like I thought if you didn't get a rank guy, you'd get someone more of with a name or a more like veteran guy.
You know what? I'm not too surprised. I think that Daniel Santos, he's, you know, you're right. Like I figured I'd be getting somebody with at least like coming off a win, but at the end of the day, I think that speaks volumes about Daniel too. You know, I think that they see the potential in him. He showed up his last fight against Julio Arce. Is it Arce or Arce?
Yeah. Arce,
Arce. And he put on a good fight. You know what I mean? He pressured 15 minutes the whole fight. And maybe the matchmakers, in my opinion, saw an opportunity to put him, somebody who's a pressure fighter, coming forward 15 minutes against me. And my last showing, somebody who also came forward for 15 minutes straight. You know what I mean? Maybe they saw something in that matchup where it would create something exciting, you know?
And then before, like when you got the call, like were you familiar with him or did you kind of have to go and look at his fights?
No, I definitely had to go look him up, you know, and I've done a lot of research on him and been able to kind of pinpoint his strengths and his weaknesses. So I definitely did not know who he was, but like I said, he's coming from a good camp. You know, he's got a really good record. He's got a lot of wins under his record. I'm definitely his toughest competition though, up to date. I think that before Julio Arce, all of his fights, whether it be 7 or 9 wins, I don't know what it is. I'm getting kind of different websites are saying different things. All of his guys are really not high level by any means. So now that he's in the UFC, you know, Arce obviously a step up in competition, and I'm right up there with him. You know what I mean? I think that I carry a different style than Arce does. We're both southpaws, but it's going to be a fun fight. You know what I mean? I think that my game plan is pretty much his game plan. You know, it's going to be 2 guys coming forward and who's going to have the craftier strikes, the craftier wrestling. And I think that that's going to be me for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing about this fight is both you guys are the pressure guys. How important is it to kind of get after him right away and you be the one with your front foot forward, or you're not the like, because he's a guy that always likes being pressured. And that's the thing when pressure fighters, like, they don't fight as good off their back foot. Like, is that part of the game plan is to make sure you're the guy that's always leading the dance?
For sure. I mean, I don't expect to be leading the dance for the full 15 minutes, but you know, I definitely want to get a feel for his timing and his footwork and his tendencies for a little bit. And then for sure, my game plan is to pressure forward, mix in my wrestling if I have to. You know, I think that I don't think his level of wrestling is high at all. I think that my pressure is on a different level of pressure than him. I think that he's coming forward and he's looking for a lot of spinning attacks and stuff like that. I'm in your face. I'm in your face regardless, and the threat for the takedown is always there as well, for me when I'm fighting him. So I think that stylistically it makes for a great matchup, like I said. So I think that that's why the matchmakers kind of made this one.
A bit disappointed. It's just at the Apex, and you can't get that fan experience yet.
I know, right? Hey, it is what it is. I said this in my last after my last fight. As long as it's in Vegas, Vegas is home to me. I'm undefeated in Vegas. Even going back to pre-UFC, I used to fight for this promotion called Combate Americas, and we went to Vegas all the time. The Dana White Contender Series was in Vegas. Like all my fights in Vegas, which I think are like 6, 7 of them, whatever, I'm undefeated. So Vegas is home for me. I feel very good at the Apex, very comfortable regardless. But yeah, of course, hopefully after this fight, I get some fan exposure.
And with that though, like, do you obviously you want to be in front of fans, but just like kind of knowing how everything goes, like this will be Daniel's first time at the Apex, and like just kind of know, do you think that's kind of a bit advantage where like it's going to be a totally different atmosphere that he's probably not used to getting in a fight with only like 50 people there?
For sure. I mean, it depends. You know what I mean? Some people will take that as an advantage or a disadvantage. It's kind of up to, there's obviously no set in stone rules, right? Like, oh, he's never been in this situation, he's going to fall apart. Some people are like that for sure. They don't do well in it. Some people thrive off of it. I feel like my first time without a crowd was at my Dana White Contender Series, and I was super nervous not having a crowd, and just having my coaches there, and just this was I think like right in the midst of COVID, like the first year of COVID. So it was very, very like limited people in there. Now I think they're at least allowing a little bit of people in there, staff, personnel, and maybe just a few fans. But so it's all dependent on that person. For me, I was super nervous about it, but when I got there, I loved it. I loved being able to hear all my coaches, all the feedback, and maybe that's somebody like him too. I think just being at the Apex will for sure. I mean, it'll for sure. It's home to me. It's definitely an advantage nonetheless.
With Daniel, like kind of talked about a bit earlier, both you guys are pressure guys. Like, how do you think you match up against him? Like, obviously, I think both you guys are very good strikers, but I think you're probably the better wrestler.
Absolutely. I'm the better wrestler. I'm the bigger guy. I don't know. I think that I saw some of his fights. I think he fought at 125 at some point. I'm definitely going to be the power 35er. I'm going to be a little bit bigger than him. My wrestling advantage is for sure there. Pressure wise, like I said, he's coming strong for sure. I anticipate that. But you bet it with pressure as well. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to find his chin regardless. And I think that once I do, he's going to kind of back off a little bit. So.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, both your UFC wins, stoppage wins, like, how do you kind of see it playing out? And, like, totally different. One was that knockout, one was just kind of showing off that you can go 3-yard rounds and eventually pulling off that submission.
For sure. Honestly, to be honest, I think that I grew a lot from the Eddie Wineland finish to the Miles Johns finish. I think that, like you said, I can show that I can go 3 full rounds. And in my opinion, that Eddie Wineland fight, I was a little bit starstruck. You know what I mean? I grew up watching Eddie Wineland fight when I was, before I was even a full-time fighter. I grew up Eddie Wineland, grew up watching him fight. So I was a little, intimidated, a little starstruck maybe, and my full honest opinion, I feel like I was losing the fight up until I was able to knock him out in the first round. With Miles, I came out a lot more confident. I think that obviously confidence comes from the preparation itself, but also stylistically, I felt like my style was very, very much in my favor against Miles Johns and his, power striking and not a lot of volume. I think that moving forward here, same thing, just kind of dissecting my opponents and figuring out their styles and then combating it. And I think that I've already done that with Daniel Santos, like I said, and we've already touched base on it. He's a come forward fighter. He's 15 minutes of pressure. I think mixing in my wrestling is going to be dangerous for him. My jiu-jitsu has gotten to a whole new level. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with me. And like I said, I know I have power. So I know as soon as I find his chin, he's going to not be so pressure fighter anymore. So I think, every single fight, my goal is to get better every single fight. And I feel like I've done just that. Coming off the Eddie Wineland into Miles and then, Miles into Daniel Santos, I'm ready to prove it. I'm ready to prove the advancements and the improvements that I've made.
You get past Daniel and say you finish him. Like, where do you think that puts you in the division? That'd be 3 wins in a row, 3-1 overall, and like debut, short notice. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you?
I think this fight is important for sure. Like you just said, 3 fights and 3 wins in a row, 3 finishes in a row. I think that puts me at least in the, you know, in the talks of getting a ranked opponent. You know what I mean? I obviously don't think that it's going to put me in the rankings by any means, you know, but I think that it's at least puts me in the conversation of having a ranked opponent here in the next fight or two. So at the end of the day, though, I'm just worried about this fight right here. You know, I don't like to sell myself on anything too soon. So I want to take care of business with Daniel, and I think I can do that.
Do you think you're just starting to get like some respect from a lot of like fans? Because like Nathaniel Wood fight, like you were this massive underdog, even against Eddie Wineland, like it was basically a pick 'em. Then you're back to an underdog against Miles Johns, and now like I was just looking like I think it's like a 2-1 favorite here. Like it seems like people are starting to finally realize like how good you are.
For sure. I mean, I didn't know it was a 2-1 favorite in this fight. That's kind of cool, but for sure, you know, I think that rightfully so. I think that you know, people will put respect on your name. What do they say? You're only as good as your last performance. And I think that last important performance kind of showed a lot of people as to what I'm capable of. And, you know, after a good training camp and putting in the serious work and the improvements that I need to, I think that I'm a dangerous fighter and a contender here in this division. And I think that that last fight kind of just proved that exactly. You know, whether it be that fans are just starting to put respect on my name, you know, who knows? Who cares? You know what I mean? I'm ready to show up. I'm ready to fight every single time, and I'm ready to make improvements every single fight. So,
and just last thing, like get past Daniel. We kind of talked about it a bit earlier, but hoping one more in at least this year or early next year if you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you know, it's early October, you know, so I have all of October, all of November, and all of December. You know, my birthday's in December, so I definitely, you know, I basically have 3 months to kind of squeeze one more in the end of the year, and I think that's definitely possible. So, like I said, I was trying to stay active this year, and at the beginning of the year, I said I wanted to squeeze in at least 3. Obviously, there was a little bit of a layoff between February and now, but there's still time. You know what I mean? Especially if I can kind of get out of this fight quickly, or not necessarily quickly, but unscathed. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely possible. I'm excited, man. This is going to be a good fight. It's going to be a war. I'm going to put on a show for you guys.
And hopefully in front of fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully in front of fans in December or sometime before the year ends.
Oh, well, John, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Awesome, Cole. Thank you so much.